Right, welcome back to another YouTube video, another week. I'm sure I say that every time I start a video, but it is a new week. What I thought I'd talk about today, I'll take you through. This could be a 1 day or 2 day thing. But since I've kind of been in like a massing phase for pretty much like the last 7-8 years, I'm not joking, I thought I'd talk about it and talk you through how I went about, or not me myself, but me myself at the start, and then obviously getting to work with Luke at the gym, and how he went about our massing phase and trying to put on as much size as possible. So I think I'm gonna open this door a bit because I am boiling, sweating. So basically, when we talk about trying to put on size, a lot of people tend to go about it quite lightly, and I think depending on obviously what your goals are and where you want to, if you're going for that bodybuilding goal or classic or men's physique or whatever, or any type of goal you have in terms of putting size on, and how much size you want to put on, people do go about this quite, I find anyway, go about it quite lightly, and tend to, I think the whole thing with social media now is everyone wants to stay lean, everyone wants to stay shredded all year round, and I think obviously depending on, again, what your goals are, this all depend on how hard you push and how much body weight you want to put on. So I think for me, to take you through mine, I obviously want to take this as far as I can, and me being 6'2", 6'1", 6'2", I know from looking at pictures and seeing people compete and watching the top pros now, which is obviously where I want to eventually get to years down the line. I've got to put on a considerable amount of mass to be able to even compete with these guys. At the moment, I'm sitting around 127 kilo, which is about 277 pounds, I think it is, or maybe a bit more, about 280 anyway, which, I'm going in the right direction of where I want to be. So, if I want to be one of the top guys in this sport, my off seasons have, got to be around 300 pound plus, because of my height, and because of my structure. To put size on, I've got to be up there, in the 300 pound club. So, I started, let's go from the start. So I started my massing phase when I started with Luke. I think I was around 105 kilo. I was about 105 kilo, and obviously from the get-go, we push food up, and I've always kind of done this throughout my whole bodybuilding journey since I was 17. I kind of knew that I needed to put size on. I was at the start, I was quite skinny, and just quite lanky, you could call it, because obviously I grew quite tall, and then I wasn't putting the calories in that was necessary when I wasn't really bodybuilding. I was just playing rugby and stuff, and I didn't know anything about feeding the body and adding carbs in, and never tracked anything. So I knew that I had to feed myself. I had to put these calories in, put these carbs in, to be able to put some size on. So yeah, fast forward to when I started with Luke. We started putting calories in, started upping the carbs, and we started this massing phase from pretty much day one. Like I said, I was about 105 kilo, and I'm now 127 kilo with probably better condition. And this is probably like 2 years, year and a half, 2 years down the line, from when I started with Luke. So we've made some amazing progress. I'm very, very happy and grateful to be having Luke in my corner, telling me what to do, and just being able to execute everything he says, pretty much. Very grateful for that. I wouldn't be in the position I am now, on the shape and the size, without Luke. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But yeah, we took the calories and carbs high. We just started increasing pretty much, not weekly, probably like every 2 weeks, sometimes weekly. and to put me in a surplus of calories, because that's what you want to do when you want to put size on. You want to be in a surplus. You want to find out what your maintenance is, and then just keep adding calories on top of that. You know, we wanted to stay in pretty much quite, you know, fairly good condition. You know, you are going to gain body fat, and I think that's what people are quite scared of. Obviously, you know, at the moment I'm quite chubby around the face and quite fluffy, and I think people just don't want to delve into that. Like I said at the start, a lot of it now is social media and presenting yourself on there, and trying to be attractive to your audience. You know, and a lot of people do like the, you know, the shredded, the six-pack and all that stuff. But with the goals that I wanted, I knew that I had to go through this phase for, you know, a few years. It wasn't just like a few months. I knew that this was going to take time. It's going to take a long time. It's, you know, it's a very slow process in putting size on. It's a very, very slow process, and it's, you know, it's all about being consistent with your food, not missing a meal, not missing a training session, not missing your steps. You know, and obviously by staying meticulous with your plan that's been set out for you, or you've done yourself, size will come eventually. You know, if you're training hard enough, if, like I said, if you're not missing meals, if you're staying true to yourself with food, you know, the size does eventually come. It just takes time. And we attacked it in the sense of trying to push body weight as far as we could, obviously without getting health implications, looking at digestion very well, taking some digestive supplements and stuff like that to help food go through better, and I think as well using the right sources of carbs and food sources that obviously my body likes. So using a lot of rice, a lot of oats, and stuff like that. That was pretty much kind of my only carb sources through this whole massing phase. They were the main ones anyway, and obviously you got your odd bagel, bit of toast, bananas, etc. And then proteins, you're looking at lean proteins. You know, I stay away from chicken. I haven't had chicken in years. I know people have, you know, they say bodybuilding meal is chicken and rice. I went through a stage at the start of my journey when I was doing it for myself. I thought, you know, chicken and rice, that's all they've got to eat. That's what it says in the magazines, on the forums and stuff. Chicken and rice was up there, and that's what I used to do, and I just got sick of it to the point where I couldn't even eat it. So I took that out, put white fish in instead, and digestion so much better, 10 times better. So I, you know, advise anyone who's going through a massing phase or any sort of plan to put white fish in, a lean fish anyway, haddock, cod, whatever. Very good, you know, for digestion. It doesn't stick around, you know, it kind of goes straight in, gets absorbed, and that's it. You don't have to deal with any digestion discomfort or anything like that. So, but yeah, I mean, we just push calories up, push food up. I think, I'm going to take a guess, but I think my carbs started, they must have started around 500, 600 gram of carbs a day, and we worked up to about 1,000 grams of carbs at the end of my push, which obviously, you know, we're increasing very, very slowly, so the body adapts to it. But we did end up on a very high amount of carbs. But you do have to go to those places to put on the size. If you are a tall guy like me, 6'1", 6'2", and you're wanting to go into the heavy bodybuilding, you know, category, you are going to have to get up to some decent body weight, and I think it is, you know, it is hard. It is not easy to do. It's very monotonous. The meals, you know, are large, so it's not the easiest thing to do. I think you've got to have the willing to have a very strong mindset and basically want to achieve your goal. If you're not 100% into the goal you've chosen, it's going to be very hard for you. You've got to make sure that you're 100% committed to this, because like I said, we've been now doing it for 2 years, and we're only making really a dent in, you know, what is my physique going to be. So we're only really just getting started, and you know, it takes years. It takes years of this kind of phases. You know, we did do some mini cuts and some recompositions along the way, but essentially it was about growing. You know, like I said, we put on about 20 kilo of pretty much muscle, with, you know, I'm sitting at a better condition than we started with. So, you know, very happy with what we've done so far, but it just goes to show that you do have to push food hard, and for quite a prolonged amount of time. People do these, I've heard people doing, you know, 12-week pushes where they'll push food up for 12 weeks and then do a cut. You know, I know people personally who've done that, and they say, yeah, I'm going to do a shred for summer, I'm going away, and they do a shred. Okay, that's great, but you've just spent the last 6 months not really gaining any muscle. And I know my goals are probably completely different to them, but in terms of getting as big as you can, you've got to, you know, take that out of your mind, take away the fact that you're not really going to have a six-pack for a year, 2 years maybe. You know, I have a very faint one right now, but I'm not bothered because I know this is just a stepping stone. I know this isn't at the end of the road, and the more size I put on, the more muscle I put on, obviously you get leaner as the amount of muscle you put on, because it's obviously harder to fuel that body as you get heavier and you add more size. So I know this isn't, you know, the end of the road. This is just a stepping stone and of where, you know, I do want to get to eventually. But that's kind of what we did. I know I probably doesn't, it might not make sense all that because I'm just going off memory, but I hope some of it does. But you know, the end of the day, you've got to push food hard in a massing phase, and it's going to take time. You know, there's no point doing short blasts. It's got to be consistent. It's got to be very gradual, and you will see the size come on if you're consistent and you stay with it and you train hard. I think the main things is obviously food and training. If your training is not up to scratch, there's no point eating that amount of food, because you've obviously got to work to be able to fuel the body afterwards, to be able to eat those high calories. You know, we worked up to about 6,500 calories, and digestion was great. Hunger was great, so I was hungry for every meal, but that's because I was training hard. That's because I was putting work in the gym to be able to eat those amount of calories and to be able to fuel my body up ready for the next session and recover. Yeah, I think some people, you know, just go about it a bit wrongly. I'm not going to say that because I think they do. Obviously it depends on the goal. I don't know what their goals are, but I see people doing these small massing phases and getting into a position where they're fat, like actually fat. You know, I think you need to stay in a position where you're not really going over 15% body fat, and some people do go over that and then just cut right down, not really training hard. So there's no point in pushing calories up, you know. So I think it does get to a stage where, you know, you do need to pull back a bit if you're getting to that over 15% body fat, and take a look at yourself and say, right, okay, we need to reset this and get back to square one and start building yourself back up again once you've come back down into a decent body fat percentage, because you want to stay in a reasonable, you know, 10-12% body fat all the way through your massing phase. You know, just to stay in a good body composition, really. You don't really want to be going above that just because of health implications, really. It's not healthy to be fat, is it? It's not really healthy to be adding on that amount of body fat, and you shouldn't really be doing that if you're training hard enough. If you're training hard enough, there's no way. It's very, very hard to get fat. I think, you know, I know that from the amount of food I've eaten in the past, or am now, it would be very, very hard for me to get over 15% body fat, because you're just burning it off in training. You're just using that food in your training to fuel the session, you know, break down the muscle, build the muscle back up, and then repair and recover for the next session. So there's something to think about. But yeah, I've kind of rambled on there enough. But kind of what I just wanted to get across was, you know, I've been doing this now for 7 or 8 years, and it's kind of just been a whole massing phase across the board. You know, I haven't, you'll probably be surprised about this, but I've never actually done like a full cut. I've never got to that level of dick skin, leanness. I've never seen my full six-pack, because I knew if I was to do that, then I would take away time that I could be putting into growing and putting on size. So I've never actually, you know, gone through a whole cutting stage. So yeah, that's what I wanted to just kind of get across. That, you know, if you are wanting to become a pro bodybuilder, get to the heavyweights, potentially stand on that Olympia stage with the big boys, you are going to have to go through this at some point. You know, this is not something that's going to be forever at all. We're just building some sort of, you know, we're building the foundations to where I can then obviously start competing, which will obviously mean going down into a very low percentage body fat, and then going back into a pushing phase and so on. So, you know, I'm only at the start of my bodybuilding journey, really, scratching the surface. But yeah, that's what I wanted to get across, because I feel like people, like I said right at the start, people go about this quite lightly, and just think it's going to take, you know, a month or two to put a size on, and they don't eat enough, they don't train hard enough, and that's why they don't put on as much size as they want to. So yeah, I think I've rambled on there enough and talked enough. You're probably bored of me now, but that's what I just wanted to get across. You are going to have to go through this at some point. You know, you're not going to be able to get up to that amount of level of muscularity if you're going to be doing 2 cuts a year, or trying to, you know, go on holiday and look shredded and stuff like that. That's got to be out of the question. I think personally, this is completely my way of thinking and how I've gone about it for the last few years. But that's just, you know, what I wanted to share, what I've gone through for the last 7-8 years, in terms of this massing phase. And yeah, that's what I just wanted to get across. So we're going to leave it there because I've talked enough. You're probably bored of me now. So we'll catch up next week. I'm sure I'll have something a bit more interesting to watch, a bit more entertainment, and maybe some training. But yeah, stick around. So thank you for watching again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share around. I'll see you next week. Cheers, guys.